Hiya, and welcome back to Distant Travels. I cannot think of anything to say, so we're just gonna hop right in. The tiger smiles at you as you follow the bear out of the room. You take the elevator to the ground floor. As you exit the building, it's clear that the bear is happy about your choice to walk. He's even sneaking peeks at you when he thinks you're not looking. You can't deny that you're also pretty excited. The walk could be a good time to ask a few questions. And maybe even some one-on-one time with the commander. He starts humming a tune you don't recognize. You can't help but wonder, is that a tune from his world? That makes you think. You don't really know a lot about where you're supposedly going yet. You look over to the commander. He looks lost in thought, still humming and looking at the clouds above. The tune is quite relaxing. Is the sky same as in his world? Are the clouds the same shapes? Is the color the same? Does the air smell the same? And what about food? Although he did drink hot chocolate yesterday. Maybe I should just ask? As you snap out of your daydream, you notice that the commander is now looking at you. Looks like he noticed you spacing out. Oh. He doesn't say anything. Instead, he looks up at the clouds again. Beautiful. What? As if he had read your mind. The sky, that is. Oh. It is a beautiful day, isn't it? It is. He smiles at you. When I was young, I used to look at the sky and daydream. I'd dream about flying through the clouds. I thought I'd feel so free, able to go anywhere I wanted. It really was like that for a while, too. He sighs for a second, then catches himself. Sorry to bore you with my ramblings. You must have a lot of questions. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to know. I'm not quite as technical as Dr. Stevenson, but I should be able to answer most things. To be honest, there's quite a bit I'd like to ask, but I imagine there will be time for that later. Would you tell me a little more about your world for now? Like if the sky is the same. He looks at you and tilts his head. What would you like to know? It's a lofty question, but you can't help but be curious. What is the sky like, where you're from? The question seems to almost catch him off guard, but he quickly regains his composure. It's similar to the sky you know. There are clouds, sun, although it appears slightly larger than the one above us right now. The colors of the sky are deeper. It's a deep, deep blue usually. The sky here looks a little pale in comparison. Is he good? I could tell you the science behind it, if you'd like. It'd be an interesting subject, wouldn't it? Besides, it's a way to learn more about where I might be going. At least that's the excuse you tell yourself. I'd like that. His face turns into an unexpected look of excitement. Where to start? Do you know why the sky has color? As in why the night sky is dark, black, and why the sky is blue right now? I remember some of it from school. I think it has to do with the light from the sun hitting the atmosphere. Very good. That's exactly it. Color, as we see it, is light reflecting off a surface. So any color we see is just reflected light. It has been reflected by bouncing off something. In this case, the atmosphere, as the sunlight reaches our eyes. What color we see depends on the wavelength and strength of the light that is reflected. It is the reason you might experience a cloudy day as gray or lacking of color. It also depends on how we perceive it, depending on our genetics. It's very unlikely that the sky looks different to you than it looks to me. I hadn't thought of that. Your genetics are definitely different after all. I wish I could see it, how you see it. That slipped out. He looks a little surprised at that, but it would be interesting, wouldn't it? Maybe I can try to describe it to you. He looks to be lost in thought for a second. Here. He brings out his phone and takes a picture of the sky. He holds the phone up so you can see it. This should look like the sky does right now, to you. It does. Exactly the same, in fact. The commander turns his phone back and seems to be doing something on it. A minute later, he turns the phone back to you. Now, I don't know if you'd see this sky through my eyes, but this is almost how the sky in my world looks like, compared to the one here. In this kind of weather that is. You look closely at the screen of his phone. The sky is a more saturated, deep, and intense blue. The clouds look like they're closer due to the darker sky. Like you could reach out and touch them. Fluffy. It's different. I imagine it'd be hard getting used to. But it's beautiful. I'm glad I could show it to you, somehow. Even if it's not the answer to your original question, I hope it might help you imagine it a little bit. He seems really happy to be able to teach you something. Thank you, Commander. You're welcome, Alex. Is there anything else you'd like to know? It's silly, but you can't help asking. It might be a little silly, but what about the night sky? Are there more stars? How many moons? What about color? Is it dark? Sorry, a lot of questions all at once. He just smiles at that. The night sky is still dark. Our sun sets at almost the same rate as in this world. We have 2 moons, Theorin and Theoma. As for the stars, the amount is about the same, but there are other stars, other constellations. Are the constellations also named after gods or myths? Some. Most are named after historical heroes, or people who have changed the world. People who changed the world, huh? I'd like to have a star named after me. You want to be a hero? Not really. You remember a conversation you had with Nick once? You were both pretty drunk. Still, it had stuck with you. He had reflected on something you had said earlier, something you hadn't thought about really. Sometimes I feel like there is no place in this world for people like me. The question Nick had asked you was, what is happiness and fulfillment to you? What would it take to make you happy? To feel like you'd gotten to where you want to be, done what you wanted to do. I think I want to change the world, make it a better place somehow. He looks lost in thought for a little bit. Having a star named after you means a lot of people look up to you for answers, but I think it's a good way of leaving behind a legacy. It's a noble aspiration. I hope you get your wish, Alex. Thank you. You're normally not like this, but apparently you couldn't help it, probably due to the flow of the conversation. You keep on walking for a little bit, neither of you saying anything. Eventually, the commander breaks the silence. I miss flying through the sky. You used to be a pilot? Not exactly. I actually used to be a teacher. Not what you expected. During the day, on my breaks, I used to look at the clouds. Imagine what it would be like to fly, soaring through the clouds, to be free. And at night, I would look at the stars, wanting to go further, to find out what lay beyond. And then I joined the military. I got to go there. What I didn't bring into my calculations was all the responsibilities that came with the job. He looks up at the clouds again. Despite that, it was wonderful, most of the time. Sorry, I'm rambling again. Don't worry about it. I found it interesting. Thanks for telling me about your world. He smiles at you. You notice you've stopped just outside a cozy-looking cafe. Perfect timing. You enter the cafe and have lunch together. The commander asks you questions about the Earth and networking. You ask him about Arctos, about the history and the nature, what kinds of creatures there are. It seems your worlds are not so different. Afterwards, he walks you back to the hotel. You spend the rest of the day on your laptop, taking notes and making a list on what to pack. Before long, it's dinner time. You ponder what to eat. Maybe you should ask someone to join you. Who should we ask to join us? beep beep. Wub 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 wub. La 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 la. Beep. Wub 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 beep. Beep. Wub 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 beep beep beep. Wub 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 wub. La 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 beep. Beep. Wub 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 beep. Beep. Wub 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 beep beep beep. Wub 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 wub. La 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 la. Anyways, who should we ask to join us for dinner? Just casually singing Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. Just killed a man, put a gun against his If no one's gonna say anything, then, it's just... You text the commander and ask him if he wants to grab something to eat. Maybe that's too casual. It does not take too long to get the response. I can come meet you at your hotel in 10 minutes. There's a nearby restaurant I was recommended if you'd like to go. Not too casual, then. You wait for him just outside the hotel. He greets you with a warm smile. Hi, Alex. Ready to go? Ready as ever. You all can chat about the day. He seems excited to hear your take on things, and asks your opinion about a lot of stuff you've learned, even the Endless White. You have an optimistic and realistic view at the same time. I admire that. It's easy to get lost in old memories and sorrows. After all, at least where I'm from, this time of the year is supposed to be a time of joy and happiness. But in reality, it's the opposite. I think it's the contrast. It makes you think of lost loved ones, happiness that used to be. It makes the lonely feel more lonely, and it makes the sadness surface. And everyone has sadness and sorrows at some level. It does bring back some dark memories of worse times. The world is a place of ups and downs. Everyone has their regrets. Everyone has their demons. I think that in the end, you just need to know whether to chain them or to feed them. Here's a quote from my favorite poet. Just as you are the architect of your own demise, you also build your own future. And the alternate ending, added by some, fight if you have to make it a good one. Feed your optimism. You joining us on this mission makes me more optimistic. I'm fighting my demons, and sometimes they end up winning. But when I see you look forward, I get the power to chain them. Maybe I said too much. Sorry. You can feel yourself blushing. Thank you. You've not done anything special yet, though. Sorry. I've not done anything special yet, though. He seems to be in deep thought for a minute as you walk. Will you tell me more about yourself, Alex? You tell him a little about your family and your job. You even tell him a little about your ex and the breakup. He listens intently. Eventually, he turns to ask more about your world, and the conversation gets lighter for a little bit. And then, how was the briefing with Charles? It was informative. I learned a lot of things. Even about the thing you're fighting. The endless white. What was that? Oh, it was my watch. It helped me make my choice. He looked surprised. I've been lonely in life. I felt like nothing I did ever mattered in the end. That regardless of my choices, I was lonely. That things would never get better. Like, my world had ended. That's why I'm going to help you fight for your world. It's almost like the world slows down. His look of surprise turns into a wide smile. And a second later, you feel his arms around you. He pulls you into a warm hug. He's warm, and his fur is soft. Even though he has a lot of muscle, he smells good too. Thank you, Alex. I still didn't do anything yet. That's not true. You're helping to save my entire world. Everything and everyone I care for. That is more than doing just something. He releases the hug. Suddenly, it is as if time starts again. Thanks for telling me your feelings, and listening to mine. It's important when the world feels like this. You can't help but blush. You walk in silence and eventually arrive at the restaurant. You have dinner together, with more lighthearted conversation. He smiles all the time. Eventually, he walks you back to the hotel and bids you a good night. And the stream's just going to die. It does not take long for you to fall asleep. Today was a good day. I've gotten to learn more about the people I'm going to work with. And I've had some nice conversations. And learned things. Chapter 2. New Ideas, New Beginnings. Yeah, the stream's just going to casually die. Let's wait for it to catch up. There we go. You regain your focus as if someone had snapped their fingers next to your ear. You're at the office. By your desk, you have some logs up on your computer screen. You must have been daydreaming. Menial, slow work. You have done it 1,000 times and it doesn't get any faster. You finish finding what's causing the error. You finally stretch your back out and look around the office. Maybe Ed is up for a short break. Something is off. Things are quiet. Far too quiet. It's like the sound has been sucked out of the air. There's no energy, almost no color. It's like the world just stopped. Ed is nowhere to be seen. Neither is Julia. That's weird. You get a sudden urge to find someone. For whatever reason, you don't want to be alone right now. You make your way over to the part of the office where Sam, Nick, and Dave work. Nobody is there either. Your thoughts are intrusive, like they are not your own. Like your thoughts had a voice you could hear, only it was more malignant than usual. Almost like your own thoughts wanted to harm you. If there was only someone to talk to. I guess that's what the world is, isn't it? It's a struggle, a lonely struggle. And I've been alone for a long time now. You don't really notice how bland and lonely the world is until something breaks your illusion. Fuck. Maybe you can call someone, just to talk a little. Your hand reaches for your pocket, but your phone isn't there. It's a futile struggle. You're all alone, like always. You close your eyes. When you open them, your vision shifts. You're outside the office on your route home. It's still eerily quiet. You look around and things are still colorless. Bland, quiet, empty, and nobody is around to be seen. Just like yesterday, snow is falling softly from the sky, covering everything in a blanket of white. It's like it's putting the world to rest. A deep, lonely slumber, no sense of time, no progress, no future, no past. Just resting, waiting for the end. Wait, snow? It seems different, almost like ash. Reach out to catch a falling flake in your hand. It stings as it touches your skin. It burns. Ouch! There's no sound coming out of your mouth, no voice. You let go of the flake and take a deep breath. It burns your lungs as the ash enters your airways. It's clogging up your throat. You can't breathe. Your hands reach for your throat in a desperate attempt to somehow get air. It's futile. As you breathe in desperation, you only draw more ash into your lungs. You want to cough, but you can't get any air in your lungs. Your vision starts to fade. You can't help but think of how lonely you are. Just like always. Your phone rings, stirring you from your dreams. It's Julia. She usually never calls outside work hours. We're going to answer the phone, see what Julia has to say. Good morning, Alex. How are you doing? I know she's just asking to be polite, but should I tell her about my dream? Recently, you've been learning that opening up some extra might be good. At least if the people you open up to are your friends. Good morning, Julia. I just had this odd dream and made me a little uncomfortable, to be honest. Oh, I'm sorry. Are you alright? I'm alright, just a little uncomfortable. Maybe I should change the subject already. You're calling early. Sorry, I just got a message from the government regarding you. It says you'll probably be staying for a few more days, and I just wanted to check in if you needed anything. Always the caretaker. But you can't help but smile. I'm definitely not alone. I should be fine. Will I need to get another hotel room? No, I've already called the hotel and fixed it. Take the time you need. But this has got me excited. Team Jules Rules is doing well. With some luck. We don't need luck. We have the best team. I guess we do. Hey, Alex. The tone in her voice has changed from excitement to worry? Do you want to tell me about that dream? Maybe you'll feel better. I don't think I can. I don't remember all of it. It's a white lie. You remember, but it's also a bad dream about something related to what Commander Steele told you not to talk to anyone about. And you definitely don't want to tell Julia anything about that. Okay, Alex, how about I ask you something instead, then? What do you want to ask? Do you ever get the feeling that our little town does not have all that many chances and possibilities? That you should be content after all things are not that bad? They were worse before, but things are okay now. She's not wrong. Sometimes. Why are you asking that? I don't think anyone should settle like that. You are amazing. You need to move forward, Alex. You don't need to be stuck anywhere. Even if things get scary, you're still you. You're not stuck waiting for someone to save you, even if it may feel like it at times. Even if things get scary. She's right. No time to doubt myself. I'll remember that. Thanks, Julia. Just keep doing what you're doing and Team Jules Rules will win. Have a good day, Alex. You too, Julia. Bye. That was nice. And I'm definitely not alone. You wake up feeling fairly rested, all things considered. The dream from last night still weighs on you, but somehow it didn't feel all that dark. Julia really helped. As you get dressed, you can't help but to reflect on the last few days. It's been a bit of a wild ride. First, a job promising great possibilities, and then the existence of another world in the universe. Different life forms, even though we're really similar in all kinds of ways. I should ask more about their planet, Arctos. It seems so similar, except the technology. Well, that and the fact that they're not human. They've even managed space travel. I wonder what it'll be like. Traveling through space on a ship. Will there be a lot of people? What will I do on the ship? The Firefly. And then, what lies beyond? Both beyond today and beyond the stars. You're about to see both. But for now, let's start with today. Besides, it will be nice to have a break from new things. A few days at home to relax and process all the new things. Maybe that's why you've been so lost in thought these last few days. You finish your morning routine and meet up with Nick. The two of you decide to wait in the hotel lobby, grabbing some tea. You send the commander a text message, wondering what's left for today before you return home and get ready for, well, everything. It doesn't take long to get a message back. I can come pick you up in a bit. Let me know when you're ready, and we'll talk through the day on the way here. You check with Nick and text the commander back, letting him know you're ready and waiting in the hotel lobby. Now that you have time to think more about things in a casual manner, the commander seems to be a bit of an early riser. I bet Max seems to be one as well. He let out a slight chuckle. It's hard to miss that kind of energy. He's like concentrated coffee. Maybe it's a dragon thing? A dragon thing? What I'm saying is maybe he'll calm down in a few years. Or even get even more intense. I think he was just pretty excited. It was probably his first time interacting with humans around his own age, right? Well, you're bound to get to know sooner or later. Your conversation is interrupted as you once again spot the big bear approaching you from across the hotel lobby. Charles is following right behind him. Good morning, Alex and Nick. Good morning, gentlemen. Did you get enough rest? Good morning, Commander. Good morning, Commander. I hope so. I'm interested in finding out what's on the table for today. I can't wait. He smiles his trademark smile at you. We'll begin with testing for the immunity research, and you'll get to meet John Maddox, our engineer. He'll go through a bit about what to expect on the journey to Arctos, as well as some basics about the Firefly, the ship we'll be traveling on. With some good timing, we'll be all done by tonight, and you can return home to get everything you need ready. And let the people close to you know that you'll be gone for a while. He gets a serious look on his face. He looks at you and Nick. Know that this trip is not without danger. The plan is to stay far away from any possible harm, but it is still a mission of great importance. And unforeseen things happen when they're least expected. Please consider everything today, and if you wish to change your mind about going, none of us will hold it against you. He seems to really have thought things through since yesterday. Things really are getting serious. I want to go. There isn't a chance that just anyone is given. I'm set on going, but I'll keep it in mind. He relaxes at that. Thank you. Besides, you know Charles would never forgive me if I didn't do everything I could to warn you of any potential dangers. Really care about the risks, Doc? The commander sighs. Charles just smiles. Like you wouldn't believe. He did seem very safety-oriented. But it's good to know that you care deeply enough to give me this many chances. If anything, it really just helps ground my decision. I promise that I'll keep it in mind even though I'm already set on going. Which is why we're going to have another talk today, to confirm a few things. Even though I'm looking forward to a few days rest, if I just get my mind settled before we go. That's pretty forward. The commander seems to think the same. Keeping a clear mind is important. With that in mind, are you ready for one final day of pushing information? Not quite like school, I imagine. Mike gives you a wink. Look at it like the final part before exams, except there's no exam this time. Seems like school is the same on Arctos as it is here. I'll try to keep up. You'll do great, Alex. No pressure. Are you up for another walk, or would you rather I call for a car? Walking sounds good. I'd like some one-on-one time with Nick today, if that's alright. What? You'll know in a second. We'll be seeing you later then. The two of you make your way out of the hotel and begin the walk to Spaceware Productions facilities. This time, you start the walk in silence. The commander seems to be in a good mood once more. Once again, he's looking up towards the sky as you walk. How's school on Earth, Alex? You ponder how to answer his question for a second. When I was in school, it felt like the most boring thing ever. Crammed information in a short amount of time. Now I kind of miss it, to be honest. The main issue was probably not being able to pick exactly what I wanted to study. If there's something I find interesting, I can read up on it for hours now without being bored. Back when I was in school, I'd be distracted in 5 minutes feel something that didn't interest me. Now that I think about it, that's probably why I never finished my certifications the first time around. Well, that and your ex. Was it not interesting enough? It was probably that there were other things that were more interesting at the time. And no real external motivation for it at the time. Looking back, I wish I could redo it. For what it's worth, everyone who I've heard thinks you're more than good enough even without certifications. That's worth something. Sometimes the world gets caught up on things that shouldn't matter. Like certifications. If you know what you need to know, and everyone else knows it as well, what does the actual certification matter? There's a moment of silence before he continues. If you could redo it, would you go down the same path? Networking, I mean. He looks you in the eyes as he asks the question. Would you? Probably not. There's too many things I've found out since that interest me more. Space, for example. Or thinking as if actually going back in time. Maybe I'd get into game development. It's reaching explosive growth at the moment, and it's something I'd find interesting all the way. Practical, and it'd be following your heart. Take the chance to ask the commander some personal questions. What about you? Would you do the same things? Would you be a teacher again? And would you join the military? He looks to be lost in thought for a little bit. I'd probably like to be a teacher again. I think that desire to do something for everyone else is still there. I'm not so sure about the military. There are things I regret, and I think most of them happened while in the military. Maybe I'd become a commercial pilot instead. He lets out a small chuckle. I imagine it wouldn't feel as free as what I've done so far, but in reality, I'm sure it would be. He looks like he's contemplating something again. Perhaps I'd do something on a smaller scale. How about your dream, but in a smaller way? Like opening a gym. What do you think? Would something small like that still be changing the world? I guess it would. But I don't think that's changing the world as much as changing people. As in, it wouldn't be something lasting, something permanent. I think it would. I think changing people is the way to change the world. If you can change even one person's life for the better, they might just carry that with them. And if that influences their actions in life for the better, there will be a ripple effect. Although I do know that those are lofty ideals. His voice lowers to a barely audible whisper, as if it were not meant to hear the last part. In reality, the world is much too dark for such dreams. He shifts the conversation before he can mention anything. How long do humans usually go to school for? Let's see, usually from age 6 to 7 until 15 is mandatory in most countries. And here, most continue optional studies until they're 23 or 25, depending on the occupation. Some continue further. That's not too different from Arctos. On Arctos, you'd go to school from age 10 to 18. And then, if you wanted to, you could continue studying until you were done with whatever subject you wanted. Most would finish school at 18 and seek employment, and less than half would study further. What subjects did you used to teach? He smiles. I started out doing general studies for youths and just starting school. However, after a few years, I moved on to teaching science and physical education to seniors. Since you're already asking questions, how did you end up joining the military? If I recall correctly, I mentioned that I kept wanting to see what lay beyond the stars. And the only way was to go to space was through the military. At the time, it was a clear path for exploration and helping people. Exactly what I wanted. Tech was moving fast, and there were no hints of trouble for the first few years. Trouble? Was there a war? Some would call it war, but things are never that simple. I'll tell you the full story one day, if you're interested. But for now, I'll have to deliver you into the care of our engineer. Besides, I don't want to keep boring you with more sappy stories and thoughts. I think I've rambled enough for a few days. He says with a smile, I'll tell you about something more lighthearted next time. You notice you've just arrived at Space Fair Productions. The commander holds the door for you. Gentlemen first. He leads you in, and the two of you once again take the elevator to the main floor. As you exit the elevator, you notice a large badger sitting leaned back on the sofa, seemingly sleeping. The commander clears his throat. Morning, John. The badger opens one eye, clearly awake. Good morning, Mike. And morning, Alex. Charles and Nick came through already? Yep, they'll be doing their own thing all day. I'll check on them in a bit then. He stands up, stretches his back, and stretches his hand out toward you. He's massive. You can't help but wonder how he made it through the door in here. You take his hand and shake it. John Maddox, Chief Engineer on the Firefly. Welcome to the crew, Alex. Nice to meet you. We'll be working close together once we reach our destination. I'll be grabbing some coffee and then I need to get to work as well. He looks to you, then to John. I doubt I'll need to tell you not to scare him off. No worries there, Commander. Was Charles that bad? Apparently not, but we both know what incident I'm thinking about. John cringes a little as he seems to be remembering something. I'll keep him happy and satisfied. Good man. Goodbye, and give me a call if you need anything. The bear waves goodbye as he heads down the hallway. John gives you a once-over, then yawns a little. Sorry, usually not up this early unless there's something special. Did the commander give you a schedule for the day yet? Not more than that we're doing some testing for immunity, and that I'll be meeting you today. From what I gathered, there will be some basics about space travel. He scratches his chin. I guess I didn't really give him a time frame. I'll be going through some basics about the Firefly with you, what to do in case of an emergency, and a rundown of how things work. As well as the basics for space travel, which as far as I understand is less than most humans expect. He gives you a wide smile. With some luck, we'll even be able to take a nap before lunch. You wonder if he's joking about that last part, but despite the smile, he seems serious. He scratches his chin once more. Where to begin? The contrast between him and Dr. Charles from yesterday is striking. Looks like this might be far more relaxed. To be honest, I have no idea how to do this. How about I show you the layout of the Firefly to start? Follow me. The large man pats your shoulder as he makes his way past you and leads you down the hallway. As you tail behind him, you can't help but notice how large he is. Out of all the large men you've met this last week, he's definitely at the top of the list. Lost in thought, you accidentally bump into his back. Sorry. He speaks before you can apologize properly. Sorry. Alright? Sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you. Got lost in thought. That's alright. Did you hurt yourself anywhere? It was just a slight bump. But you're not about to tell him that. I'm alright. He smiles. Good. Compared to him, you probably do look pretty fragile. This way. He enters the room and holds the door open for you. You enter the room, which seems to be a small office. Take a seat. I'll set things up. You take a seat near the entrance of the room. John takes a small device out of his pocket. It looks almost like a phone. He places it on the table and pushes a few buttons on it. In front of you is a clear hologram of what appears to be the spaceship, the Firefly. Here she is. You can't help but reiterate your previous thought. Almost looks more like a bird. The Firebird, right? I heard about that. Charles thought it was brilliant. Can't say I disagree, it's a fitting allegory. Allegory, a hidden poetic meaning. You decide to ask a few things about it. So this is what will be bringing us into space? And beyond at some point, I imagine. She's been around since before I was born, and she'll probably outlast me. There have been a few versions of the ship, but some parts have stayed the same. As to preserve her history, her personality. Really helps sell the Firebird thing as well. In her current form, she runs on extra-gravitational engines. As in, she needs energy from black holes to function. Luckily, we can create our own black holes if need be. All we need is some minerals that are not too rare, from asteroids or meteorites. So these. He points to what looks almost like large cannons on the image in front of you. Are essentially gravitational cannons. They can pull things into them. He seems to be thinking for a second. Imagine large magnets, but for anything we want to grab. I get it, you grab asteroids and meteorites with that, and then mine them? Spot on. And then, we can use those minerals to essentially do something similar to fission. And force a miniature black hole open, which we then can feed, and harness extra dimensional energy. Does that make any sense? It's outlandish. He puts his hand up and scratches the back of his head. Let's ask Charles to explain it to you during lunch then. I'm sure he'll do a better job than I would. He looks sincere when saying that, despite it sounding like something someone would say sarcastically. I doubt it's something you'll ever have to worry about, but it's good if you know the basics of how things work. Next up, with the engines fueled, navigation is almost done by a pre-planned course, planned by a computer. In case of anything odd, like an uncalculated supernova, or anything unexpected happening to the ship, we have our navigator, Max. We met yesterday. He's very, energetic. That's one way to put it. He's definitely a positive one. Not sure where he gets all the energy from, really. You'll probably be seeing him on the bridge, or with me down near the engines. Good to know. Where's that on the ship? Here. He points toward the middle of the ship, just behind the wings. So if you ever need a nap, come see me. I'll show you all the best places. Hint, they're all in engineering. He gives you a wink before continuing. I'll point out all the important places for you, although you don't have to worry about it when on the Firefly. There's a transport system very similar to an elevator that can bring you where you need to go. You just need to remember the names of the different places. What's the system like? Do I press buttons or do I just say the name? You just have to say the name and it'll bring you there. He points to what's the front of the ship, almost where the eyes would be, were an actual Firebird. And here's the bridge. Usually any meeting or such is held there, and in case of a problem, that's where we gather. So it's usually not used very much. Let's see, what's next? Here, the doctor's office. He points out an area right next to the bridge. If you ever get hurt, there's enough supplies there to patch yourself up. If Charles is not around, that is. I'll make note not to get hurt. Ha! Most things I'm telling you are supposed to be more than you need. Speaking of needs, there's a restroom or two at almost every floor. The one here, by the gym area. He points to another section of the ship. Are larger and have proper showers. There's also the one you get to design in your cabin, of course. I get to design one? You could go with standard choices, but personally, I like to switch up from time to time. I'm not quite sure I follow. Nothing like that over here. Not unless you're suggesting I rebuild the entire cabin myself every so often. Alright, this is simpler. Your cabin in the ship is essentially a hologram. However, it's a pretty elaborate one, in which there will be basic furniture moved around to fit your needs. It can also be modeled to feel and act as any furniture you like. As such, you could make it look just like a room back home, if you get homesick. Interesting, but I doubt I'd do that. This is an adventure for me, after all. That's one way to keep things fresh. You wonder what all the different cabins look like. Maybe there's a room that's exactly like on Arctos? That'll be interesting. And if you get bored, there's a similar room here, next to the gym. Simply for recreation. You'll have to book it in advance most of the time. And here, he points to a room just above engineering, is the observation deck. Sometimes it's nice to just sit and look at the stars. And it's a pretty good place for a nap. Especially if you know about the blankets and pillows in the closet in the wall, right next to the door. I'll remember that, thank you. That one's a freebie. Here's the mess hall. There's no set dinner time, but if you let me know in advance, I'll always be happy to join you for a meal. I might even cook something for you. I hadn't thought of that. How is cooking on this spaceship? Usually you won't have to worry about it. We take turns and you're not expected to help out. But from what I gather, it's not too different from what you do on this planet. There's also booze for special occasions, like if you manage to score a date. He chuckles a little at that. Or when you just need a stiff drink. What else? Is there anything specific I should be aware of, other than the ship? In my experience, the only thing to actually worry about is always unexpected. I doubt there's something specific I could prepare you for. There are no dangers expected on the route, but always be ready for anything and trust your gut above everything else. Remember to take naps. Oh, and ask questions. I'm sure any of us will be happy to answer any questions we can for you. I'll do my best. To be honest, this week has been pretty cramped with information. I'm trying to keep up, but it's quickly stacking up. I wouldn't worry about it. We'll remind you of what needs reminding. And you'll probably have even more questions after finally seeing it all. So just take it as it comes. I'll do my best. What's next? He looks at his watch. What about a quick nap? By the way, what do you do in your spare time, or to celebrate something? Nope, wrong thing. Like, going away for a while, or a new start. Kind of like a kickoff. Let's see. Normally, in the circles I've been in, it'd probably be something a little silly. Like playing laser tag. or going to an amusement park, or just going out for dinner and having a few drinks together. Sounds like fun. I'll let the commander know when we see him. But for now, how about that nap? You're serious, aren't you? You're welcome to join me if you want. Or you can wait for the commander while awake, if you don't have anything you'd like to do. With that, he moves towards one of the two couches in the room and lays down on one of them, and then, within a few seconds, he seems to be out cold. What should we do? Should we join him for a nap or stay awake? No one's gonna say anything, then let's join him and take the nap. Screw it, a nap does sound nice. You lay down on the other couch and close your eyes. For a moment you feel your thoughts racing, but then the soft silence grows on you. Your mind wanders, slowly. It's been a crazy week, but that's not where your thoughts go. Instead, it goes to the potential, to the future. What might happen? What if I go to Arctos? Instead of just setting something up and going home, I help fix things. I stay there. I build a life. I mean, what's stopping me? What would life be? Would I make more friends? I would be sticking out as a human. Would that make me interesting? Or perhaps it would just make me weird. Probably both, right? Although none of the people I've met from Arctos so far strike me as weird. Just different. Physically, at least. Their personalities don't seem odd. They're just people. And from what I've gathered, they feel more humans than most people I've met. They all have their problems, and things they miss. They definitely have things they like as well, like coffee or tea. And they don't seem afraid to share who they are. You hear a soft snore next to you. Looks like John has fallen asleep for real. It's cute. What's the thing with calling it being human anyway? Humanity generally doesn't do that much great things. The people from Arctos, Arctonians, Arctors, Arcticians, Arctors, Arctonicians, never mind. The people from Arctos are here to get help with weapons out of all things. That shouldn't be such a good thing. But they all seem so likable and approachable. What if everyone on Arctos is like that? It would be a place worth fighting for. Before you know it, thinking about what ifs and what ares has helped you relax. You drift off into sleep, and don't remember what you dream about, but you're fairly sure you're in space, drifting through the stars, and there's a soft feeling of a comforting hug. You're woken softly by a touch on your shoulder. Gotta get a good rest? Told you it was good timing. You sit up and stretch your shoulders out. That was nice. Okay, it should be lunchtime in a few minutes. And if I know him right, Mike will be here in a few minutes to check up on us. As on cue, you hear a knock on the door. He really has the timing for naps down. Hi, Alex and John. How are you two doing? Is John teaching you everything you need to know? I think so. There's been a lot of information to remember these last few days, but I think I got most of it. Don't worry if there's too much. If there's anything you forget, I'm sure any of the crew will be happy to remind you. There's no pressure about it. Thanks, Commander. It's a slow day. I was thinking of picking up some food and eating it here. Would you two like to make me company? You look over at John. He's your guide for the day, after all. Sounds perfect. That sounds nice. How does pizza sound? John puts on a huge smile at that. One of the best things about Earth. You can't help but chuckle a little. I'll have to agree. Maybe I'll have to make some on our trip. You could swear you saw a twinkle in the badger's eye as you said that. You should teach me. It's planned. By the way, Mike, as for the favor you asked, Alex has given me a few ideas. I'll run them through you during lunch. Perfect. We'll see what we can book for tomorrow. Alex, we were planning on having some kind of event tomorrow. It'd be fun if you were to join us. Kind of like a proper way of saying goodbye to this planet. That's what John asked me about then. Who better to ask? What recommendations did you give him? Usually, if I were to get a new colleague, or if we start a new big project at work, we'd do something like a kickoff. We would go play laser tag or have dinner together, or just go out for drinks. Well, how about all of those then? We're welcoming a new colleague, and I'd say it's a new big project. You're just flat out going with my suggestion? A little embarrassing, but it does sound like fun. And it sounds like a good chance to get to know all of you a little better. It's a date! We'll come pick you up tomorrow morning then. It'll be good to have you there. How's Nick and Charles doing, by the way? You haven't seen them at all today, after all. As if on cue, Charles and Nick enters the room. Good afternoon, Alex. How's John treating you? I'm learning a lot. Relaxed but informative. I'm about to reopen that window. John smiles. I'd expect nothing less. I'd like to start by taking some tests today, if possible. How about we swap for lunch and Nick can get a run-through from John? Nick looks excited at the prospect. I'd like that, if it's okay with you. I'll just go with the flow. The doctor looks pleased. Trade you back after lunch then, John? You owe Alex pizza, Charles. I'll make it worthwhile. You could swear the tiger winked at you. Right this way. You followed him to his office, and Nick brings up a conversation with John at max levels of energy. Now then. Special kind of bullshit. My very, very special kind of bullshit. we're gonna leave off here tonight. I swear, this game is fun. It is a very fun read. Along with my special kind of bullshit. I cannot think of anything to say, so stay safe, have a good night, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.